Can y'all hear me on Zoom?
Yeah, you're good.
Very good. All right. Today we're going to talk about lines and their slopes in 11.3 and 11.4. So if you have a negative slope, that means the line is decreasing or going down from left to right. Positive slope, your line is going up from left to right. Zero or no slope is a horizontal or constant line, and then an undefined slope is a vertical line. Slope is often described as rise over run. So in other words, that's the change in y over the change in x. And we have a formula that we can use to calculate the slope given any 2 points that are on the line. All right, so x1, y1, and x2, y2 represent 2 points on the line. And then in that case, the slope, which is represented by the letter m, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's find the slope of a line that passes through these 2 points. So first, I'll just label x1, y1, x2, y2. All right. And then I like to write down what I call like the bones of my formula, which is, everything other than the numbers that I have to fill in, which is basically that. All right, so we have those 2 subtractions from the formula. All right, and then sometimes your numbers might be negative, so. All right, then fill in the numbers. So it'll be 10 minus 5 over 12 minus 7. So 10 minus 5 is 5, and 10 minus 5 is 5, and 12 minus 7 is also 5. So 5 over 5 equals 1. So the slope is 1 in that case. All right, number 2, same thing, x1, y1, x2, y2. Here's my bare bones formula, and then I'll fill in my numbers. That's going to be 1 minus 6 over negative 3 minus 5. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5, and negative 3 minus 5 equals negative 8. And those negatives would just cancel each other out, making it positive 5/8. Number 3, same thing, x1, y1, x2, y2. So this is where it's really important to make sure that you've got the subtraction from the formula, and then because you've got all these negative numbers here, you have to make sure we have all the negative signs, all the subtraction signs, everything. So this would be negative 9 minus negative 3 over 4 minus negative 8. So minus a negative is a plus. So it's really negative 9 plus 3, which would equal negative 6. And then 4 plus 8, which would equal 12. And then we could reduce that to equal -1/2. All right, number 4, same thing. That's x1, y1, x2, y2. So, low battery. Do have my cord. Okay. So this will be 6 minus -2 over 3 minus 5/3. So minus a negative is a plus. So that'll be 8. And let's see. So 3 over 1 minus 5 over 3. So I would use the bow tie method. So 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 times 5, which is 5, all over 1 times 3, which is 3. Nine minus 5 is 4. So I have 8 over 4/3. So I'm dividing by a fraction. And so I'm just going to flip that fraction and multiply. So it turns into like 8 over 1 times 3 over 4. Okay, and then 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6, so 6 over 1, which is just 6. All right. So next we're going to talk about finding the equation of a line. And I'm going to do that using the point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right. And so when we use that formula, we're going to be given this, we have to have the slope of the line and we have to have a point on the line. And so the coordinates of that point, that's still going to be your x1 and your y1. So you're going to plug in numbers for x1 and y1 in that formula, and you're going to plug in the number for the slope. But you're not going to plug anything in for just the x or just the y, because that's still going to be in your answer. So you're going to plug the numbers in, and then you're going to simplify it and make it look like the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay. B represents the y-intercept of the line. So x1 is -3, y1 is 0. So this is kind of my bare bones of that formula. And then I'll plug in 0 for y1, plug in -3 for x1, and then plug in m for, so 4 for the m. And then, so now everything's plugged in. After that, all I need to do now is simplify it. So minus a negative is a plus, so that's going to turn into x plus 3. And y minus 0 is just y, so that's y equals 4 times x plus 3. So the next thing I would need to do to simplify it would be distribute the 4. So now I have y equals 4x plus 12. So that's it. That's my slope-intercept form. And from that, we could tell that the y-intercept is 12. Okay. All right, number 6, same thing. So x1 is 3 and y1 is 1/3. So this would be y minus 1/3 equals -2 times x minus 3. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute the -2, which makes that -2x plus 6. So I have y minus 1/3 equals -2x plus 6. And then I'm going to add 1/3 to both sides. So I have to add 6 plus 1/3. So that's the same as 6 over 1. So 3 times 6 would be 18 plus 1 times 1 is 1 over 1 times 3 is 3. So 18 plus 1 is 19. So y equals -2x plus 19 over 3. All right, number 7, same thing. So x1 is 3 and y1 is -2. All right, so this would be y minus -2 equals 2/3 times x minus 3. So minus a negative is a plus. That's y plus 2 equals, and then I'll go ahead and distribute the 2/3. So it's 2/3 x minus, so 2/3 times 3 over 1, the 3's cancel out. So that's just 2 over 1, which is just 2. So I have y plus 2 equals 2/3 x minus 2. So then all I need to do is just subtract 2 from both sides. So y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay. So on number 8, we're still trying to find the equation of that line, but this time they did not give us the slope. Instead, they just gave us the 2 points. So the first thing we're going to do is use the slope formula to calculate the slope. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So that'll be m equals 5 minus 8 over 0 minus negative 1. So 5 minus 8 is negative 3, and 0 minus negative 1 is positive 1. So m equals negative 3. Then we can go ahead and use the point slope formula. So y minus 8 equals negative 3 times x minus negative 1. So minus a negative is a plus. So we have y minus 8 equals negative 3 times x plus 1. And then I will distribute the negative 3. So I'll have y minus 8 equals negative 3x minus 3. And then I will just add 8 to both sides. So y equals negative 3x plus 5. Okay. Number 9, we want to find the equation of a line that goes through the point 4, 6 and has an undefined slope. So if it has an undefined slope, that automatically tells me that it has to be a vertical line. And if it's a vertical line, that means its equation is going to have to look like x equals a number. And that number in this case is going to be 4. So x equals 4 is the solution. Or I guess I should say is the equation of that line. All right, so number 10 is a horizontal line. So if it's a horizontal line, that means that the equation has to be y equals a number. And in this case, that number is 7. So y equals 7 is the equation for that line. All right, so now we're going to look at graphing lines using the slope and the y-intercept. All right, so first thing I like to do is make sure that the equation is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, which this is, and then compare that with this actual slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So if we do that, we can see that the slope, m, is 2. All right, so whatever the coefficient of x, that's your slope. And then the y-intercept is -5 in this case. All right, so now that I know that, I will first start by plotting the y-intercept. Okay, so there's that. And then the slope is 2, which is the same thing as 2 over 1, which means that from the point that I've already plotted, I can go up 2 and over 1 to get another point. All right, so technically, if I was doing this on the computer, I only need 2 points to make the line. But if I'm doing it on paper, I'll probably just go ahead and do a few more if I can, just to make, be able to draw it better. So you can just go up 2 over 1 just as many times as you have the space for. And then go ahead and draw the line. And it's going to go through those points, but it's also going to keep going beyond those points. So that's why we put an arrow on each end. All right, and then number 12 is going to be same thing. So if we compare this with y equals mx plus b, we see that the slope m is negative 4/3, and the y-intercept b is 1. So I'll start by plotting the y-intercept. And then from there, I'm going to go down 4 and over 3 to get my next point. And that's about all I have the space for in that case. All right. So on number 13, that equation is not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing I want to do is make it in slope-intercept form. So I can subtract 3x from both sides, and I can add 2 to both sides. And that would give me y equals negative 3x plus 2. And from there, I can see that the slope m is negative 3, and the y-intercept b is 2. So then I will go ahead and plot my y-intercept at 2. And then my slope is negative 3, which means I'm going to go down 3 and over 1. And I have enough space, I can go down 3 and over 1 again. So there's that line. All right, so on number 14, so again, this is not in slope-intercept form. So I need it to be in slope-intercept form. So I think I would just start by flipping it around so that the y is on the left and the x is on the right. So I'll just go ahead and flip it around and say 8y equals 2x. But then I still need to get y by itself. So I need to divide both sides by 8. So then that would make it y equals 1/4 x. So the slope then is 1/4. And what is the y-intercept? Mm-hmm. 0 is the y-intercept. Mm-hmm. So you could say there's like a plus 0 here. All right, so plot the y-intercept at 0. And then the slope is 1/4, so I'm going to go up 1 and over 4 to get another point. Now, something else that is useful to know, 1/4 is technically the same thing as -1 over -4, right? So if I wanted to, I could also go down 1 and backwards or to the left 4 to get a point on my line as well. All right, so that will just help me be able to draw a better line, or, maybe, sometime for some reason I just don't have room to go one direction or something like that. So it's helpful to know that you can reverse it and go the other direction as well. All right, so number 15 does not have any y in the equation at all. So that pretty much already tells me that it's going to be a vertical line, and I just need to solve for x. So I just need to divide both sides by 3, which gives me x equals 3. So that is a vertical line. So on the graph, it just looks like that. Okay, so like if you're doing this on the computer and you need to plot a point, you can just plot any point that has an x value of 3 and then any other point that has an x value of 3. So in this case, the slope is actually undefined. And there's no y-intercept. Okay, on number 16, again, we need to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, which gives you 3y equals negative 12, and then divide both sides by 3. So y equals negative 4. So that is a horizontal line. At negative 4. So that's what it looks like. Again, you can just plot any 2 points there if you're doing this on the computer and you need to plot a couple of points. So the y-intercept is at negative 4 and the slope is 0. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is parallel and perpendicular lines. So hopefully maybe you're a little bit familiar with this concept already. If you think about, sometimes when you're talking about, streets or directions, you might say, well, those two streets are running parallel to each other. So they're going like this. Whereas, perpendicular means they're crossing and they're forming, right angles. But in this case, we're going to describe what parallel and perpendicular have to do with slope. So parallel lines have the same slope. That's pretty easy. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals, which means one of them would be a positive slope, the other one's a negative slope. And reciprocal is when you have a fraction and you flip it over. Okay, so if you have a line with a slope of 11/4, then any line parallel to that is going to have a slope of 11/4. And any line that is perpendicular to that would have a slope of -4/11. Okay. If you have a line with a slope of -5/8, then any line parallel to that will have a slope of -5/8. And any line perpendicular to that would have a slope of +8/5. So the parallel is the same slope. For the perpendicular, you change the sign and you flip it. Okay, if your slope is 3, any line parallel to that has a slope of 3, and any line perpendicular to that has a slope of -1/3. Because 3 is just the same thing as 3/1, right? So just change the sign and flip it for perpendicular. Okay, so let's determine if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so a line going through these 2 points compared with a line going through those 2 points. All right, well, let's use the slope formula to calculate the slope. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals -2 minus 8/6 minus -10. So that's -10/16, which reduces to -5/8. And then let's do the other one. That's x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals 19 minus 3/18 minus 8, which equals 16/10, which reduces to 8/5. So looking at those two, will those two lines be parallel, perpendicular, or neither? They're perpendicular. Opposite reciprocals. For number 21, we need to put each of those in slope-intercept form so that we can identify the slope. So subtract 4x from both sides. So 7y equals okay. Sorry. All right, so 7y equals -4x plus 8, and then I'm going to divide everything by 7. So y equals -4/7 x plus 8/7. Okay, and then I'll do the other one. So for that one, I will add 7x to both sides. So -3y equals 7x plus 24. And then divide everything by -3. So y equals -7/3 x minus 8. Okay, so one of those lines has a slope of -4/7, and the other one has a slope of -7/3. So are those lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, so these are not the same, therefore they're not parallel, and they're not opposite signs, so they're not perpendicular. And they're also not reciprocal, so they're not perpendicular. So they're neither. All right. Number 22, find the equation of the line passing through the point 0, 5 and perpendicular to y equals 1/3 x plus 4. Okay, so what is the slope of this line right here? One-third. Okay. So that means that the slope of the line that we are looking for, which is perpendicular to that, would be what? -3. Okay. And then we have x1 is 0 and y1 is 5. And then we're just going to use our point slope formula. So it would be y minus 5 equals -3 times x minus 0. So x minus 0 is x. So you have y minus 5 equals -3x. And then you're just going to add 5 to both sides. So y equals -3x plus 5. Number 23, we want to find the equation of a line that's passing through the point -1, 2, and it's parallel to the line y equals -2x minus 10. Okay, so what is the slope of this line right here? -2. So therefore, what is the slope of the line that is parallel to that? -2. So x1 is -1, and y1 is 2, and m is -2. So then we'll just use our point slope formula. So y minus -1 equals -2 times x minus 2. So minus a negative is a plus, so that's y plus 1 equals, and then I'll go ahead and distribute the -2, which makes that -2x plus 4. Then subtract 1 from both sides, so y equals -2x plus 3. Okay, find the equation of the line graphed. So for number 24, so first let me identify the y-intercept, which is located here at -1. So that's my y-intercept. So B equals -1. Okay, and then I need to find another point on the line. So, and this line isn't perfect, but let's pretend it is. And let's say we have this point right here. So I'm going to count going from left to right, from one point to the next. I have to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 2. I have to go up 3 and over 2, which makes my slope 3/2. So then all I have to do is just plug that into my point slope or my slope intercept form. 3/2 x minus 1. Number 25, that's a vertical line, which means that the equation is going to be x equals a number. And in this case, that number is -1. All right. That's all the notes for today. Oh, and I actually have test review copies for everybody that's here. And did everybody that's here already get your other test back? Okay. Did your test? Okay, I'll get it for you in a second.
Thank you.
So it's the 29th is the test. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. The 29th, and for all of the Thursday people will be the test. And then the 3rd for the Tuesday people. There you go. So the test will be the 29th for y'all, for the Thursday people, and it'll be the 3rd for the Tuesday people. So yeah, so that's a week from today for the Thursday people. Yes.